Hi friends, Kristen here. Thanks for tuning in to No Ordinary Path this week. This is a Real Talk Tuesday, and today we're going to talk about full-time fatigue. There have been moments in the last 2 years where we have wanted to call it quits or we're ready to throw the towel in, and it was largely due to one of these 7 reasons. I feel like all these things are fairly common, that a lot of people go through, people that I know, friends of ours that also have dealt with this, who full-time RV. I'm going to try to go through these 7 things in order from when we experienced them, 2 years ago, up to this point now. The very first one, going in chronological order, is shopping fatigue. In the very beginning, before you even hit the road, you have to find that right RV for you that fits your needs for your family. Even if you start small and start now, you still have to find that RV that is going to fit your needs. And there are so many choices out there. And so what we found is that just going out and looking at random RVs wasn't very helpful for us. It was fun in the very beginning. It was fun to see all these walk through different RVs and try to picture ourselves in them. But it got really tiring over time. And so what we had to do was go back to the drawing board and figure out exactly what our needs were and what was important to us, and then only go see the things that fit into that mold rather than just, a couple times we just randomly showed up at RV stores like in our area. And so having a clear picture of what you want will definitely help you. And I will tell you that we are experiencing that same shopping fatigue now that we are looking for land to put a home base on. So it might come back around, or if you go to find a different RV in the midst of your travels because you want to upgrade or something, you might experience it again with that also. There is definitely a honeymoon phase. And for us, we were just like on cloud 9 when we finally hit the road. It was on Aaron's birthday.
Launch day! It's launch day!
It took 2 whole months to just explore with our RV before John even started a job. We actually left without knowing where his first contract was going to be. We went to the Ozarks and Table Rock Lake, and then we went to Colorado and visited family in Colorado for a week, maybe even 2 if I remember right. And then we took a really long time to get to our first contract, like 2 or 3 weeks to get to our first contract, stopping multiple places on the way there for 2 or 3 days at a time. And so we really took our time instead of just booking it across the country. And so for us, the first 2 months were like, oh, this is awesome. And then the honeymoon was over and John went to work, and then it was just real life, but inside an RV. And that was the first time we were like, oh, it was kind of like a like after you've been on vacation and you get back off of a really good vacation, you get back to like the real world and you're like, and you're just exhausted. That's how it felt. And to top it off, we also were just starting homeschool, and we went had a whole month of rain in there at the first RV park that we stayed, which was also very overpriced. We were so new, we didn't know what we were doing. And a lot of people have a shakedown period where a lot of things go wrong, and that can be extremely tiring and discouraging. So you have to get past that point. So that was the second kind of period of fatigue that we ran into. The third one was actually getting started with boondocking. We knew that boondocking was something that we really wanted to do, and that it was going to be a big learning curve for us. And we kind of threw ourselves right into it because we took a contract in Phoenix and there was no place to stay. So we stayed somewhere for 10 days, and then we were like, oh, I guess we're boondocking. And so we just dove in head first, and we bought a bunch of things. We did learn how to boondock, and we're so grateful that we went through all of that. But that first month of boondocking was very difficult. And I don't think we've ever really talked about that before, but there's a huge learning curve there and how everything works. And there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to maintain your tanks and your trash and your water. And there's just a lot of stuff to do, to physically do to maintain all of those things. We got there in November, and by Christmas we were like, and then there was no snow and no family. It was our first Christmas away. So we hit that fatigue point again. No, we did come out of that, I think largely because we started making friends at Lifetime Fitness and realizing that even though we were boondocking out in the desert, we were like little desert dwellers, that we had a taste of normal life and real showers and all that stuff at Lifetime Fitness. Started to feel this kind of planning fatigue, as you probably have heard from other people. There's so much planning that goes into RVing, and I'm not just talking about where you're going to stay next, although that's a big thing. But even if you are a fly by the seat of your pants person like I am, the day that you're going to just on a whim go somewhere, you still have to call around and figure out, am I going to be, is there a big enough space there? Am I going to be like too big? Or if I'm boondocking, is there water nearby? Can I dump somewhere? Where are the amenities around where I'm going to be staying? Especially if you're going to be staying for more than a couple of days. There is that kind of planning fatigue, and after a while, it's just like, it's a daunting process. But beside that, then you also have your meal planning and trying to put grocery shop for 1 week for a family of 5 and make it fit into your refrigerator and your cabinet. I go through these notebooks. I just put my sticker on it. Isn't it pretty? I digress. I go through these little notebooks from the Dollar Tree really fast because I take so many notes and I do all my planning through that, and I'm old school. I have a planner. There's planners on phones and apps and stuff for that, and that's all fine and dandy, but I like that it's laid out, in book form where I can make markings and whatever, and sometimes I use stickers and colored pins, but anyways. So there's planning for where you're gonna go, for what you're gonna eat, and there's also planning for homeschool. And even if you are unschooling, there's still planning involved, because with unschooling, like what we do, we have, our homeschooling is kind of we have a curriculum for language arts and math, but everything else we unschool. And so I have to actually plan when we're going to go to a science museum or a national park or do this junior ranger program or that, it is fly by the seat of your pants to some extent, but you do have to work in some places and opportunities for your kids to learn things, and that takes planning. So anyways, it takes a lot of brain space, and the only way to get over that, in my opinion, is to just take a couple of days that's completely down, that you don't go anywhere, you don't do anything, you just veg. And there are times when we close the door, we turn the AC on, we close the blinds, and we just completely and utterly veg and get on electronics or whatever, but we relax and we don't do anything, we don't go anywhere. And I think that those days are very important to work into whatever your schedule is. Sometimes staying stationary for too long makes things worse. And we ran into this pretty much in every contract that we go to. If we stay anywhere for too long, it starts to get daunting. And the reason why is because you can over sightsee, but you can also under sightsee. Meaning, if you are stationary for a longer period of time and you get kind of complacent, where you're in your rig or you're in your surroundings, like just right there where you're at, where you're parked at, and not really going anywhere and doing anything. And so the simple here for that is to make sure that you include side trips. Now, for some of you, this isn't going to matter because you hop around a lot, but for travel nurses who are in one area at a time, and especially those travel nurses who are staying at one park for the whole 3-month contract, you want to make sure that you really make time to take those side trips. Otherwise, you're going to feel like you were there for a whole contract and you just wasted it away by sitting inside your RV. So it's a different kind of fatigue. It's not really like you're tired, but you get tired of that location because you aren't taking the opportunities to go and actually see things. On the flip side, you can over sightsee and then get really tired because you're out every single day going to do something. So there's a balance that you have to find there. Okay, the next one is when you have really long periods of weather that forces you indoors. Now, this could be really rainy seasons, extreme heat that might keep you indoors. And right now, I'm kind of a wuss. I've grown accustomed to my mild 70-degree weather that's not too humid. It's kind of dry 70s. Here, although we're in the mountains and lots of people say, oh, it's cooler and less buggy up in the mountains and in western North Carolina, cooler and less buggy is totally relative because 90 degrees and like 110% humidity here and bugs galore is not really what I signed up for, but it's beautiful here aside from that. But it does make me want to spend a lot more time inside my RV because I'm kind of a wuss. I'm just being honest. So during those times, you might find yourself just tired of RVing because you're living in your RV, like you're just living in your RV and you're not really getting out a lot. That is when you have to just get out of your, find places to do that are in, like things to do that are inside. Like we would go to a movie or museums and that sort of thing. Now COVID throws a huge wrench in all of that. We would spend a ton of time at the library when we were in Columbia and it was super cold and our RV was really cold. And we would go to the library to escape it, and everyone enjoyed the library. And I know that's difficult right now, but hang in there. Finally, the last thing that can be really fatiguing about RVing full-time is the lack of routine. Now, you might think that that's kind of weird because not having a routine sounds fantastic. You know, you get up whenever you want, you go wherever you want, whenever you want. But the thing is it's more difficult when you have kids. And that's kind of something that I'm dealing with right now. We're not in school right now. We start school in August. I think we're going to start here pretty soon, like at the very beginning of August. And I'm looking forward to having some kind of a routine again. Because as it is right now, I sleep till 9 o'clock in the morning, you guys. I'm a night owl. I stay up really late. I sleep in late, which means that my kids are fending for themselves in the morning. And that doesn't start our day off very well. And then since we don't have any kind of routine right now, I'm bored. And you know, when I have an idea of how the day is going to go in advance, even if it doesn't meet my expectations, it still helps to have some kind of routine and it takes a little bit of pressure off. So while it can be very freeing to not have a routine or schedule at all, it can also be fatiguing. Those are the 7 ways that I feel like RVing can cause large amounts of fatigue. It's just something to look out for and be aware of, and if you run into them, it's really hard to see it in the moment, but it is totally a normal part of the process. And there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, but sometimes you can't see it. So whether you are 1 month in or you're 4 years in, or maybe you are just in the planning phase right now, know that fatigue is going to set in at some point. And hopefully you can recognize it for what it is and take some steps to take a break and then move on. So thank you for joining us. Make sure to click the like button and the subscribe button, ring the bell, yada yada, all the things. You know, all the things. We love you guys and we will see you out there.